Weston. I love talking about the Rangers, and I'm here to talk about Game 7 of Round 2, where the Rangers win 6-2 over the Hurricanes. They win Game 7, and the Rangers are moving on to the Eastern Conference Finals. This team just doesn't stop. They don't. I know it's the slogan. I know it's corny. There's no quit in this team. There is absolutely none, right? Dial it back. After Game 4 of the Penn series, I was ready to rip this team apart because we looked awful in the first 4 games of the Penn series. You find a way to win that series in 7, somehow, after being down 3-1. You go into this game this series against the Canes, drop the first 2 in Carolina, right? Nail just awful back-breaking losses, right? The first one where Lindgren tips in the game winner, and then the second one where you were so close they won 1-0. Wilson, it was 2-0. The second one was an empty netter with like 4 seconds left or less. I think it was actually 2 seconds. Then you win both in New York. You go back to Carolina for Game 5, and it's the same story as Game 1 and 2. Close loss. Back to New York, you play a great game, and then you go into Game 7, and it's like, well, you got to figure out what to do. And they did it. I said figure it out. They figured it out! I had a moment in this game. I think it was after the Kreider goal on the power play, which I'll talk about in a second. But I had that moment with the Rangers tonight where I kind of realized we are who we are. And certainly at this point of the season, you're not going to be able to change it. But maybe they change it next year, but regardless, this is who we are. This is the Rangers that we signed up for from the very beginning. A team that's going to have really exciting offense. They're not going to play well in our zone defensively. And you're going to have to be bailed out by Igor. And the big thing with that is we knew that's who they were during the regular season. Right? They relied on the power play heavily. They relied on Igor heavily. They relied on the offense heavily. Right? The top line producing. In Kreider. In Mika. And then the entire time we're going, that's not going to be able to transfer into the playoffs. That was our big issue, was it won't transfer into the playoffs. And in Game 7 tonight, we realized it kind of can. I know they didn't win the President's Trophy. You could debate that the Canes were the best team in the Eastern Conference. And we played our hockey in their house, and we found a way to win. So there's quite a bit to get into. First goal for the Rangers on the power play. Alexis Lafreniere, drop pass for Adam Fox. He takes it sort of towards the center of the ice, and a snipe by Adam Fox. His 5th of the playoffs, and the Rangers take a 1-0 lead. A beautiful shot by Adam Fox. The power play on this one looked weird. I thought the first power play unit looked okay, but not great. But man, the second power play unit, this whole postseason's looked great. But a little bit later on, the first power play unit said, "Oi, we're good too." Rangers are passing it around as they're so wont to do on the power play. Adam Fox gives it to Mika Zibanejad, a clapper. I thought he scored it, but the replay, a beautiful, a perfect, greasy, crease rat goal by Chris Kreider to make it 2-0 Rangers. And that leads me to 2 massive points of this game that really changed it for the Hurricanes. The first one was losing Seth Jarvis. Now, Trouba laid a massive hit on Seth Jarvis, and guess what? It was perfectly clean. I'm sorry. Big guys can lay hits on little guys. That happens. It's part of the sport. Get over it. This was a clean hit. This was shoulder to shoulder. I don't understand how people... Like, of all the hits that Trouba has laid this postseason, I don't know how this one's now getting talked about as well. Like, no, it's clean. Cry me a river. It was clean, but that would take Seth Jarvis out of the game. Also, after that, in the second period, Antti Ranta, who has been fantastic for the Canes this whole postseason, tries to make a save on Mika Zibanejad. I mean, he stopped it. Positive for him. But he went funny, and he messed something up in his leg, and he had to leave the game, bringing in the third-string goaltender for the Canes. I'll give credit to Kuchikov. I thought he did okay. I thought he had a fine game, right? He made some really nice saves, but there was nothing the kid could do. The Rangers tasted blood in the water, and they were not going to be stopped. Ryan Strome carries in, and on him making good saves. This was a really nice stop, the first one on Ryan Strome, but the Rangers have done this thing the past few games where one player will get a really good chance and then whiff, and then come in again and be like, oh, no, I'm going to score this time. That was what Ryan Strome did. A beaut, a snipe, again, and the Rangers take a 3-0 lead. The 4th goal, again, the Rangers feel it. They know their foot's on the throat. They know they're this close to doing what was seemingly impossible this postseason and beating the Canes in their home barn. We fight for it in our zone. Mika gets it to Frank Vetrano. He puts a beautiful pass out for Chris Kreider, who gets it in stride. He turns on the jets because he is fast as lightning, cruises in at 25 miles an hour into the offensive zone, and a nasty backhander to beat him, and it's 4-0 Rangers. That was the goal that took it out. That was the goal that ended it. The game ended 4-0. I don't care what happened after it, right? I understand that there were 4 more goals after this one. It's irrelevant. The game ended at 4-0. You could see the Hurricanes bench, and they were defeated. Even when D'Angelo, technically Trocheck, I don't know, man. When they scored that goal to make it 4-1, no one celebrated. No one looked happy. They knew it was over. This was the goal that ended the game and ended the series. I will not hear otherwise. And to talk about that, Tony DeAngelo bomb and Trocheck tips it in. That would make it a 4-1 lead. Again, nothing to be... The game was over. The game was over. Like, call it what it is. It was over. But just in case you thought there was any hope for the Carolina Hurricanes, a beautiful poke check by Capo Caco back into the zone. Basically centered it for Filipino, who hadn't even exited the zone yet. And he made sure to snuff out any ounce of hope left for Carolina. A beautiful shot by him. 4 goals this series for Filipino, by the way. 4 flippin' goals for Filipino. The kids line continues to be our best line, and it isn't close. The Vermin, known as Max Domi, would get a goal, because why not? And then Andrew Kopp with the empty netter, just to make sure everyone understood it was over. So going into the Pittsburgh series, I thought we were going to beat them. I truly thought we were going to beat Pittsburgh. Then we fall down 3-1, and I go, all right, it's over. It's done. Right, after that, after Game 4, and you could see in that video, because I said we were going to get our asses kicked in Game 5. I said that pretty clearly. And so going into Game 5, 6, and 7, I had no hope. I'm like, this is over. We've lost the series. They find a way to do it. But going into this series, I really thought we're going to get killed by Carolina. They match up so well against us. I thought they were the best team in the Eastern Conference. And that's no disrespect to other teams. I thought there were other good ones. I thought the Lightning are fantastic, and the playoff Lightning, playoff Vasi, elimination game Vasilevsky. But I thought the Canes were the toast of the Eastern Conference. They matched up well against us. The only win we had against them, I believe, was that weird game where Georgiev just randomly had the best game in Rangers franchise history for a goaltender, like individual game according to goals stopped above expected, just out of nowhere. But I thought going into it, we were probably going to lose. And then you lose the first 2 in Carolina. And I'm like, yeah, this is probably going to end in like 7. You win both in New York. You force it back to Game 5 tied. They win, and I thought Game 5 was the ender. I thought if you could find a way to win in Game 5, you definitely win in Game 6. And we ended up winning Game 6, but losing Game 5, I'm like, man, that means you're going to have a Game 7 in their house that you have to win on the road. And at that point, that means they would be 7-0 at home in the playoffs going into that game. That is an insurmountable mountain to climb. But I will say it, and I don't care how corny it sounds, there is no quit in New York, and facing elimination for the 5th time this postseason alone, they win. They win this, again, a great game for the offense where they absolutely dazzled offensively. And look, I said it earlier, we have to just acknowledge the fact we are who we are. The Rangers are going to rely on the power play to help them get started and to get goals. That's just a fact. They're going to play poorly in the defensive zone, and they are going to have to bank on Igor Shesterkin being him to win games. Here's the thing. The power play has looked great all postseason. The offense has looked pretty darn solid after the power play gets them revved up. And Igor Shesterkin had another game that was incredible. This was another game that he stole for you. Another game that he was otherworldly. I maintain, I think Game 6, Igor was the best game of his career, but this, another just incredible game. 37-39, a lot of high danger chances for the Canes, and he stood on his head. The only 2 goals that he gave up was when it was 4-0, so it was kind of like, yeah, well, you know, it's already kind of over. And one of them was even a power play goal. Like, come on, it's a power play. I don't like putting those on goalies. And now, Tampa. You now get to play Tampa. Bad news, because there's bad news and good news to anything. There's 2 sides to every coin, ladies and gentlemen. Bad news, it's Tampa! The good news is you beat them. You swept them this season. The good news is you match up better with Tampa than you did the Canes. I know Tampa in the playoffs is another breed of person. They just are. They are a different team in the playoffs. They know how to win. They do. They know. They have cracked the code. Playoff Vasilevsky, specifically elimination game Vasilevsky, is horrifying. He is the thing of nightmares. And so having to figure out a way to beat him is going to be damn near impossible. But you beat the Lightning all 3 times you played them this year. You beat them in Tampa. You beat them in New York. You beat them in close nail-biting games. You beat them in blowouts. You have all the film you need to figure out what you did right, what you did wrong, and make sure that in this series, you do everything right. That being said, the goaltending matchup for this series, the best playoff goalie this season playing the best regular season goalie this season. 2 goals win every game. 2 goals win every game. These are the best 2 goalies in the league. Andrei Vasilevsky's been the best goalie over the past few seasons, consistently. Igor was the best this season. It's going to be another 7-game war. It is going to be another 7 games. Positive, you get home ice. Down 3-1 to the Pens, to the Eastern Conference Finals. 3-1 in the first round to the Eastern Conference Finals. Missed the playoffs last year, Eastern Conference Finals. This freaking team. We have to do another 2 weeks of this at minimum. Welcome to the pain of the playoffs. And you know what? I can't wait for this series. The New York Rangers play Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals on home ice in the world's most famous arena Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. And oh boy, I'm going to be here afterwards to talk about it. So I think that's all I have to say for the video. Thank you all so very much for watching. I hope you all have an absolutely fantastic day. And how about them Rangers?